council house, which was meant for a family with just one child or two of the same sex. And we moved here and it was magic. It was just, you were in the country and there weren't lots and hundreds of people around you, and it was just amazing. It was a lovely era. The music was just starting to happen. Elvis Presley and fashion and materials were just starting to come into the shops after the war, and of course rationing was finished and we could have chocolate, which was absolutely fabulous. What every child takes for granted nowadays, we didn't have in 1951.
I think the house shows what was in planners' minds in 1953 of a house that would attract middle-income people to come and live and work in Newton Acres, which is a new town.
Well, I grew up in Newton Acres from 3 months old, so I know all my early memories from the 50s. Playing around here, I used to play on the grass just in front of this house. I lived just round the corner, so I enjoyed. It was a nice open space. Lots of areas to play. Just being a small child then, they were important things.
I think the architectural details of the house are unusual for a 50s house. I've not seen others like this.
What was the best thing?
Music. I grew up with music, and well, after the 60s music started to disappear, and well, everybody says the same thing, don't they? But I remember most of the music with my father and music.
If we can reflect back to the original way I lived in a flat with no bathroom, no inside toilet, in a backyard as opposed to gardens in this back and front, I think we'd find it very promising just to walk around this property and have a good look at it and reflect back on what I originally lived in. I was a lot younger, as I said. No, not really. I mean, you can't do a comparison to my age and to what it was then. You can't do a comparison, because life then was great, but these days it's got a different outlook.
I believe that visitors would find it interesting to know that my mum is still here, and it's a kind of living story. We've got living memories of it. The house itself is so much a part of our lives and has remained a part of our lives through all these years, right from the 50s, and we feel very emotionally tied to it. My mum has had very happy memories here, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
And in the 1950s had our children here, moved here to a house that was called a sunshine house, and we sort of had sunshine right the way through our lives in it. My dad, who sadly isn't here now, absolutely loved it, and as a family we were really, really happy here, and I'd like to think that visitors to Beamish will find that story very interesting and want to know a little bit more, and actually I'm looking forward, if we were lucky enough for our house to be rebuilt, to actually visit that house and see it there, and for generations ahead to see it as well. I would like it to live on forever and ever, because this house means so much to us, and I think the thought of someone else living in it, I can't even believe that it would be someone else living here, but if we were going into Beamish and seeing it there, reliving it would be brilliant.
I think it's going back to the 50s, it'd be especially interesting for children because they have obviously got no idea what it was like in the 50s, having loads and loads of children in the street playing games and staying out till it got dark and the mothers coming to the door shouting, "Come in," where now they've got all the electronic games and things like that, and I don't think they've got the same sort of atmosphere as what they had in the 50s.
I think I just love the family history in the area and the community spirit, and the fact that it's part of the 50s and it was part of a really important time for the local industry and the local community. I think being an engineer now, it's really nice to feel like you're part of the history of it as well.
I think the best thing I've sort of mentioned about all the children playing in the street, but I think it was a more relaxing sort of time then than it is now. It's all more hustle and bustle, where you didn't have cars going up and down the street or telephones, and everybody seemed to be a bit more friendly, the neighbours and things, where sometimes now you never see neighbours and hardly ever speak to them except when the spring's here or the summer, you see them out in the garden. So I think it was a friendlier time then than what it is now.
My name's Paul Todd. I work for a Living Housing Association. I'm just speaking on behalf of Madge Sterling, who lives in this property, but she doesn't want to be filmed because she's a bit shy of being on the camera. Madge said her answer to that question was she always thinks this is a warm and happy house. It always has been. She's enjoyed living here for 33 years. She's been here since 1982. When she moved into it, there was an older couple lived here and it had been well looked after. It was an old chimney sweeper who lived in the property, and she's always enjoyed living here. She has a stair lift. She maybe should be in a bungalow, but she enjoys living in this property so much. She's had a stair lift fitted so she can stay in the property. The best thing for Madge, she said she had 6 children when she was living in the 1950s, the first in 1952, and they were all born in the 1950s. She said she didn't have the time to go out dancing or go to the cinema all the way through the 50s, but she knows a lot of her friends did. Her life was built around her family, and it still is. Her family is still very close to her, but it's still very important to her. She had her first child in 1952. When she first moved to the northeast, she lived in Billingham, and she was actually a welder in the shipyards at Haverton Hill at Billingham.
It's my family home, it's my childhood home, it's where I grew up with my sister. It's a house that was very happy memories, and my mum loved. And Mum and Dad and me and my sister moved in Christmas Eve 1951, and it was a huge difference to where they lived. They lived for 9.5 years prior to that with my nana. And obviously I must have felt like all Christmases in one, Christmas presents in one. They moved in here, and it was such a happy house. It was lovely to grow up in this square, and just happy memories. And all the children grew up together. It was so friendly. These houses were built to cater for the people who were overcrowded and lived in and needed new houses. So Sunderland Council built these lovely estates to house these people like us and build these new communities for everybody. And of course the houses came first. There were no shops here, then the shops came, then the school was built and the church was built, and on each of these estates was a police house and a midwife's house. So they had like an extra room on the side, and anybody who needed to see the police for any reason, and obviously for the midwives it was an extra room, and that's where they saw their patients. So it was, they did a good job with these houses and lifted everybody's, well, as they call it now, art of living. and it did. It was lovely to grow up in, very friendly, everyone. Well, I think actually growing up in this cul-de-sac, or square as we called it, we all grew up together, we all played together, and it was just such a happy time. If you remember, I mean, you won't remember obviously, but before Witherwack was built, this was all farmland, as this was before these houses were built. It was farmland, and we had, we just used to go out for walks. We grew up on a very safe cul-de-sac, because it was, you only came in, really, if you visited or you lived here. It wasn't anybody who just passed. So we were free to just play and then go in for lunch or tea, to a lovely warm meal, and happy times, very happy times.
I think it's the most desirable house, and it's an interesting area.
Yeah, near the town centre for shopping. The neighbours, good neighbours. Well, it's a nice area actually, yeah.
Oh, it's exciting. We couldn't believe we'd got such a nice house at the time, because we've been in such a two-bedroom house, and we were getting overcrowded, so it was really, really, really good.
Yeah. I think people are more friendlier them days, I'm not getting at teenagers, but you can, well, when we were teenagers, well, we had to work for everything we got. There was nothing for nothing. We just made out on entertainment, tried to enjoy ourselves, just go train spotting, make model aircraft, going around doing messages, making money, doing people's gardens, putting coal in. Anything, just for a packet of sweets sort of thing, yeah. Yeah.